What's up, guys? Welcome back. So my last two videos, I went over the greatest single season in history by a starting pitcher. The greatest, game itself by a starting pitcher. That's another list. And today, moving over to the offense, I'm going to give you the 12 greatest seasons ever put together by a hitter, an offensive player. Now, there's some other guys who could be on this list, but I think, in my opinion, these are probably closest to the most dominant in terms of overall body of work by an offensive player in both eras, over the last 100+ years in Major League Baseball history. If you think of someone else that could be on the list or should be, put them in the comments down below if you agree. Obviously let me know. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoy it. Okay, and I'm going to do more videos like this, adding to my Yankees post-game recap. So hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss them if you haven't subscribed yet. If you're new, welcome. My regulars, you're the best. But today, let's go over the 12 most epic seasons ever by hitters in Major League Baseball. Okay, let's go. Number 12, Barry Bonds. Okay, in his MVP season, 2002. Obviously, I think he was a 7-time MVP. He had a 370 batting average that year, 46 home runs. Okay, he was 38 years old this season. So he had 110 RBIs and a 582 on-base percentage. Okay. And this was his 5th MVP. Now, again, granted too, this is at the point where I've never seen somebody get intentionally walk with the bases loaded as many times as Barry Bonds, because people just didn't want to pitch to him in his 73 home run season. All these other MVP seasons, they were refusing to pitch to him, but he was still putting up numbers like this. And obviously, he's the all-time single season home run, career home run, 2,000 RBI guy, and all-time epic player. Unfortunately, he's got the steroid thing clouding him and all this stuff, but this is, to me, is number 12 of all time. And in the era of a lot of dominant pitchers, he put up numbers that we don't really see very often. So he's number 12. And again, it's really hard to put these numbers together, but I think it's going to be pretty close. Number 11, Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth, number 11. Now he's on this list a couple times, so because of his career. But in his 1924 season, he batted .378, 46 home runs, 121 RBIs, and he also won the batting champ. He was the batting champ that year, and he had 200+ hits. Now, for a guy that's 3 bills, 300 pounds, or close to it, being a batting champ, pretty impressive with 200+ hits. That means 154 that were not home runs, so you had to hustle. So, and this is a guy that has reputations for eating hot dogs and beer out on the field and abusing his body and stuff like that. He was not the portrait of fitness. He didn't look like, Mike Trout, and he's not as athletic as Mookie Betts, but obviously, to me, he's the greatest all-around player in Major League Baseball history because he also dominated on the pitching side. If you haven't seen his stats, he averaged about 19 wins per year for 4 or 5 years before he became a full-time hitter. My God. So, that's number 11, okay? Number 10, Ted Williams. And the order actually could be mix and match. These are just 12 that stand out in my mind more than anything else. So, not necessarily, 10th, 12th to number 1, but it could be. So, Ted Williams in his 1942 season. Remember, this guy went to the war and went out for a couple years and came back and was just as dominant as he was before he left, which is that much more impressive. One of the greatest pure hitters of all time. 1942 season, batted .356. I'm looking at my baseball notes, by the way. 36 home runs. Okay, he was actually won his MVP. No, actually, he didn't win the MVP, and I'll tell you why in a second. 137 RBIs. He did win the Triple Crown. Okay, batting Triple Crown. He was also number 1 that year in runs, base on balls, on-base percentage, and slugging. So he was number 1 pretty much in everything, but the reason why he didn't win the MVP, he actually had a very testy and combative relationship with sports writers and beat writers, and they decided to put somebody who had a supremely inferior season than Ted Williams ahead of him to win the MVP. He didn't get a lot of votes because he hated the sports writers and they hated him. So, unfortunately, a little bit of BBS, which is Barry Bonds syndrome, very just combative and testy with the media and sports writers. Unfortunately, but this was definitely an MVP-worthy season, that's for sure. Yeah, that's 10. Number 9, we're going back to Babe Ruth. 1926 season. Okay, he 372 batting average, 47 homers, 146 RBIs. And again, this guy was out homering teams. Okay, teams. All right. And actually, this season he out homered all but 2 teams in the entire American League. Okay, that shows how crazy good he was. and what else did he do? Oh, and yeah, this was the year after his. I don't know if they call it the bellyache season, but he had this issue with it, and it was because of his abuse of his body and stuff like that. So a lot of folks were thinking he was washed up, all Babe Ruth was collapsing. He came back and put another season like this out, and then a whole bunch of them afterward as well. So just goes to show you how special this guy was. Next up, Rogers Hornsby. Yeah, I'm going old school with a lot of these guys. 1922 season, batted .402. Okay. 42 home runs, 152 RBIs, 250 hits. He had a 33-game hitting streak that season, and he won the Triple Crown. That is utter dominance on the offensive side. On the plate, he's pretty much getting a hit almost every 40% of the time. That's crazy good. Crazy, crazy good. So, Triple Crown MVP. Next up, Hack Wilson. If you haven't heard of this guy, one of the most ridiculous seasons in baseball history was this season here, 1930. 356 batting average, 56 home runs, and he still to this day has the MLB RBI record of 191 RBIs in one season. 191. Okay, 723 slugging percentage, 208 hits, and 105 base on balls. So, kind of like Barry Bonds, 2 people walked him a lot because of these ridiculous stats. That's a ridiculous year right there. Next up, oh, look at this, the trifecta, Babe Ruth again. It's ridiculous. This was his 1921 season. 378 batting average, 59 home runs, 131 RBIs. So he had a 59 and a 60 before Roger Maris broke his record, which is crazy. 171 RBIs, 119 extra base hits that year, 177 runs scored. He had 5 hits on opening day that year, and he also had a 26-game hitting streak that year too. So, just this is indicative of Babe Ruth's career. If you look at his stats, it's just in pure insanity of the body of work. Next up, if you haven't heard of this guy, Nap LaJoie or Napoleon LaJoie. I think it's LaJoie or LaJoie, something like that. But in his, he went 426 batting average, and this was the early 1900s. It's why just the year is eluding me for a second for a reason. He's not a big home run guy, but he had 14 home runs that year, but 125 RBIs. But 426 batting average. That is the one that stood out to me. Some extra base hits, runs, walks, overall body of work. But a 426 batting average. I think the only one above him might have been George Sisler, the only person that had a batting average. And I think he might have been in the 430s or something like that. So, Nap LaJoie. Now let's get down to the last 4. Jimmy Fox in his 1932 season, 369 batting average, 58 home runs, 169 ribbies, 749 slugging percentage, 213 hits, and he did win the MVP that year, and he also scored 151 runs. So again, just all across the board, these stats are crazy. Stats are crazy. And again, you don't see guys putting up these stats this year. They'll either hit 370 or have a bunch of home runs and RBIs and all these clutch things. They don't have, most of them don't have like 4 or 5 of these in the same category in the same year. These guys did, which is crazy. Okay, next up, the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. In his 1927 season, 47 home runs, 173 RBIs, okay, 52 doubles, 373 batting average, 765 slugging, and that was the year he won the MVP, beat out Babe Ruth for the MVP. And unfortunately, his career was cut short by ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, and which unfortunately took his life before he was 40 years old. But this guy was, in his shorter career, he was right up there with Babe Ruth in terms of averaging a certain amount of stats per year. He averaged over 47 home runs. He had 493 homers, 1,990 RBIs, I think it was. Career 340 hitter. and he only played 14, I think 14 years, something like that. Had he lasted 20 plus years, he could have probably had 700-800 home runs. And he was one of the classiest players ever. And I'm fortunate enough to say I share this. Him and I share the same birthday. So I feel that's my claim to fame with Lou Gehrig. So aside him being from New York, and he went to Columbia University, played baseball and football, and then the Yankees were lucky to grab him. So last 2 seasons, okay. Ichiro, got to give it to him. Ichiro in his rookie year, which was 2001. This was one of the greatest modern-day seasons in Major League Baseball history. He won the Rookie of the Year and the MVP that year. 242 hits, and he does still have the hit record of 262 in a season, but he also had 34 doubles that year, 8 triples. Yeah, he wasn't a big power guy, but he had 8 home runs, 69 RBIs, 56 stolen bases, but he batted .350 that year. And this just goes to show, this was the year that he transitioned from Japan to the major leagues, and it just showed how special he was. Hideki Matsui and some other guys had some good years, but there's never been a player like this to come from a completely different country and come here and absolutely dominate in his rookie year, the way that Ichiro has. So this, to me, is one of the most memorable seasons in baseball history, and he was also fun to watch and one of the most impressive players of all time. And and in his, I think it was 15 years he played here, maybe. He had 3,000 hits here in the major leagues in a relatively short career here. And then you add it to the other over there, and he's got more hits than Pete Rose ever did. So it's completely insane. He's a Japan Hall of Famer, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, one of the best ever. And last but not least, this guy I cannot overlook this season, Ty Cobb. One of the most notorious, racist, dirty players, but one of the greatest hitters of all time. This guy is notorious for sliding in the bases and kicking his leg up to cut players, and he's just crazy. And he played for the Detroit Tigers. There was a movie made about him where Tommy Lee Jones played Ty Cobb. And but in his 1911 season, batted .419. Okay, .419. And this guy batted over 400, maybe 4 or 5 times, multiple times. He's a career .367 hitter. I think maybe 3 or 4 times actually over 400. Had 148 runs that year, 47 doubles, 248 hits, 24 triples, 83 stolen bases, 620 slugging average, and obviously he won the MVP that year. So talk about diversity across the board. Hitting and getting on base, just manufacturing pure chaos on the base paths. You want a guy like that? Ty Cobb's your guy. If I was to do a draft of all time, Ty Cobb would be on my team. There's no doubt about it. There's no way I would not draft Ty Cobb. So that's my list. These are the 12 most ridiculously impressive Major League Baseball seasons in history by an offensive player. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep an eye out for more stuff like this. I got a bunch more I'm working on. And if you did enjoy it, hit the thumbs up. I'm trying to get to 100 plus thumbs up on my videos, 100 plus likes on my videos. So it's really greatly appreciated. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.